Whoops. Okay, so today we're just going to review the expert questions because it's week 7 of the course. We're hoping to get some blue ticks on the expert questions. And this was an expert question and a half, this one. Yeah, this was one of the toughest ones on the platform, I would say. Get consecutive chains. So we start with one of the hardest, definitely. Yeah. So we start with a number and we need to look at each digit in that number and put the answer in an array, split into elements based on where the consecutive digits broke down. So in other words, 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So the consecutive chain breaks down there. So we would start a new element. And then, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all consecutive, right? You get the idea, hopefully. But how to do it is a bit more challenging. So we have no boilerplate at all.
Where does it has to be?
The cut is where the numbers are not consecutive. So 5 does not immediately follow 3, right? In the number system. So therefore, we separate it out into a separate element in the resultant array. And likewise, 8 does not directly follow 5, yeah? Here we had 2 breaks, 4 doesn't follow 2, and 9 doesn't follow 7, yeah? Okay, so get consecutive chains. So I don't spell it wrong, I'll just copy and paste it over. What is that? It's a function. Now, I tend to have 2 helper functions as well when I try and solve this. And those helper function I would add to new chain. Don't know why I put spaces, I do apologize for that. And add to existing chain. Hopefully you'll see where I'm going with this at some point.
Sorry, one question. I'm really far away from an expert, but anyway, how do you realize so early that, because I'm so used to use just one function, to say maybe we need more than one?
Well, mainly because we get penalized for having more than 5 lines of 5 statements in a function. So that's the way to get around it, is we have separate helper functions, right? I know that there's a lot of commands I'm going to need in here to solve it. So I'm going to create those functions straight away, and I know that I'm going to use them later because I've got the idea of using reduce in my head.
So you're using more than one, not to get an extremely long one, but
yes.
You could have one anyway?
Yeah, I could do it all inside of one function, absolutely, but it will be a bit more complicated for me to keep track of, and it will break our elegance principles, right? Keep short, maintainable code, pure functions, all that sort of stuff, or as pure as possible in this case. Right, we've got one long number. How do I break that up into separate digits? Split. Yep, so we've got a number. So number dot toString dot split. I'm going to write it all in one line, but you probably broke it onto separate lines. I just want to keep everything on the screen nicely zoomed for everyone watching on YouTube, yeah? So, number.toString.split, how am I splitting it? Empty string, exactly, so I get each digit. And then I could call that my numbers. Numbers what? What data type is this now? It's an array, yep. So let numbers is going to be an array. With that array, I think I'm probably going to use reduce straight away because this is quite a complex function. Reduce is a bit of a catch-all. Reduce itself is going to take a function, right? And then as a second argument, we could initialize the accumulator. Now the accumulator in this case is going to be of the data type that I want to return. What data type do I want to return? An array. I don't really know what's going inside of it yet, so I'm just going to initialize an empty array as my accumulator. And then we need a test to see if the numbers are consecutive. So our reduce function is going to take obviously an accumulator. It's going to take the current value, which I could call num. We might need an index in there, and we will probably also need the original numbers array in there. So I'm going to put all my reduce arguments inside. Next, how about a test to test whether the number is consecutive?
You should compare it to numbers.
Compare it to numbers. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to say something like, does num equals array index plus 1 plus, oh no, not plus, minus 1, like that. Maybe. You did it another way. What way did you do it?
I used if and I didn't use reduce.
That was what I was trying to do first.
You were trying to use the if.
The if,
Yeah.
I was in a for loop and if then,
Okay.
I had to check it at the end and try and prove it. That's what I was trying to do.
All right. Yeah, we need two conditions, right? We need, if the numbers are consecutive, then I'm going to add it to an existing chain. So this is our consecutive test for any, I want to write it the other way around. I don't like having the minus 1 here. Sorry. I'm going to do num plus 1. So that works for everything apart from the last element in the array. Yeah? No, I've obviously lost you. All right.
Num plus one.
Huh?
I get that bit.
And we can rewrite it if you want so that we handle if it's the first one in the array. So if it's the first in the array, then what are the conditions of it? Index equals 0, yeah? So if it's index equals 0, or the current number plus 1 is equal to, it's not quite going to work, is it? Because we're not accounting for the last. So let's rewrite that. So the last value in the array, how can we make it work? So we've got to use array minus 1, and therefore that's going to be number minus 1, right? The current number subtract 1 is equal to the previous element in the array.
But how would that work for the
So if one of those conditions is true, then I want to add to new No, hold on. Add to. No, in fact, just that one. Add to existing chain. And what do we pass into the existing chain? Well, we pass in the accumulator and the number.
So there you are invoking the other function.
Yeah, there I'm invoking the other function. Yeah, I am going to rewrite this. So index equals 0, or the numbers are not consecutive. Then I want to add to a new chain. Nope, the new one. Yeah, so if it's the first number, the first digit in our number, add to a new array, essentially, I'm going to do. Otherwise, add it to an existing array. So this is the accumulator. And the number, and the same. And then we need to push our number inside of our accumulator and return our accumulator. If we want to add to an existing chain, we can just push in. Did anyone do it this way, or am I just losing you completely? Esteban, do you use reduce or no? Push in. It's not quite going to work, this. Yeah, so I'm not gonna be separating them in the correct way, doing it like this. So I can either cheat, or we can come back, or you can try and work it out with me.
Go through the January is really big way to do it.
Do what, sorry?
Esther has got a very good way to do it.
Has he?
It's quite short.
Okay.
It's quite short compared to this. So, and the steps are a lot simpler to.
So Esteban.
Yeah, two bodies. Yes, I was trying to say whether or not I did. Easy to.
You want to explain what you've done, Esteban?
Yeah, okay. So, we can say that a string is, we can easily transform it into an array. So, first we turn the numbers into an array, into string, sorry. Then we use the for of loop to iterate on each letter of the string. That is a number. Then if the result is empty, so if we are on the first iteration, or the number minus that result got sliced means that we are slicing the string, and the minus one means that we start from the end. So if we start from the end and we subtract the number and the result is 1, it means the number is consecutive. So then we can add it to the result. If it's not consecutive, then we add a space plus the number, because afterwards the way to split the substrings is just removing that space and make a comma, make it different for us.
Yeah.
That wasn't my. I didn't think that. To be honest.
Oh, that's someone else's solution
Yes.
that you found and adapted.
But I like it.
Yeah. So it's a similar principle to what we're trying to do, but we're trying to do it with arrays. But that, yeah, is how you would do it with strings.
Would there be a way to do it where you could knock it all down to an array and loop over the array by working out like
if this current index value plus 1 is equal to the next index value, then return it, and then if else, see else, yeah, don't worry.
No? I'll just cheat then and grab my other solution.
If you just do, you don't have to do else then, right? So if index value 1, if the index value plus 1 is equal to the next index value, then return it. Then push it into the empty array and return that. Alright.
Many solutions there, but if we go with can add Esteban's solution to that list at some point. But this is what we started doing, so we split it, we reduced.
Sorry, this is which solution?
This is a solution using reduce and using arrays as opposed to using strings. So Esteban's solution is the string version.
This is the one you were doing.
Yeah, this is similar to how we could achieve a similar thing with arrays, right? Yeah, so the step I was missing essentially was that, of course, once we've created a new array, we need to add it to the current chain, and therefore the current chain needs to be referenced. So yeah, look, I think Esteban's version is clearly simpler, and it's going to be easier to work with strings there, but you've got both of those solutions at least now on the video. Let's move on to some nicer ones. Get multiples of. How did you solve this? Did you use just for loops for this, or what did you go with? Kelly's gone with a map and then a for. Only one person got it. Is that right? Oh wow. Okay. Let's have a look at Kelly's solution first. So you create an empty array to hold your answers. Then, do you want to explain, Kelly, what you've done? You have mapped over each number, which in this case is not a number yet, it's a string number, yeah? Do you want to explain, Kelly, or not? Or shall I?
Okay, so you map over each number to another number, and then loop over it up until the limit, so I less than the limit, and then check if the number times whatever it's looping over at the moment. So say I equals 1, it starts at 1. Number times 1, is it less than 21, I think the limit was. Then push that number to the multiples list, and it keeps going until it hits a limit, and then return the multiples list, which is now an array of numbers of both multiples 5 and 7 up to 23, and sort them, and then map them each to a string.
Do we need the sort?
It doesn't go in order for some reason.
Doesn't go in order.
Because I'm going to be doing like one number first, so it's 5, multiples of 5 first, and then multiples of 7 next.
Ah, yeah, so we do need the sort. So is it pretty much the same solution, Esteban, that you did?
I don't remember.
Don't remember. Let's have a look. Esteban down here.
Yeah, it's close.
Pretty similar.
What is the band? Surfing. It's so close.
Yeah, you see, I got 7 minutes for saying that I was almost with not an excuse.
Yeah. So what were you missing, Esteban?
Yeah, I had something. I was just that
Oh.
part.
So,
That would be just a matter of minutes, you know? Or even less than minutes.
Or empty array.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
No, laugh. I laughed through.
So is that still counting it as a greater length than 1, is it?
No, that was just me writing quickly because it was less than 1 minute left. And I was just writing whatever I could think.
No, but why are you returning an array with 2
commas.
commas in? Is my
Because
question.
of the way I'm joining and reading.
Ah.
Because, yeah, I had an array of arrays with the answers. Then I was trying to make it just what was expected.
Fair enough. So I just use nested for loops, but it does the same thing as your map. So I had to take my loop out of the main function to avoid a penalty. Right? Otherwise I had too many statements. But in other words, I'm just iterating over the factors and then doing the same loop that these guys did, right? If it's less than the limit. And if the factor times I is also less than the limit, then push that factor, convert it to a string and push it into the multiples array. And then at the end, yeah, just sort the multiples array and return it. So 3 very similar approaches, but yours is probably more readable again using the map. And that's it. I think the next question was the objects question, so if I leave that one, and go into objects, no, it wasn't that then, must be recursion. Exists number in objects. So this is the one where you could have tried that horrible stringify thing, right? But hopefully you didn't. Did anyone do that? You did. You did keep on. Let's have a look at keep on solution and see why it didn't work.
That would have saved me the minutes.
What's that? You should have got it.
Whoa. You had to do some extra things after your stringify though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what's Kelly's?
It's not long code, so.
Whose?
Keywords. No, it's long.
There's a lot to it.
There's quite a lot to it.
Well,
Oh, it's still red. I thought it was a green one.
you put it inside a function.
Oh yeah. Sorry. That'd be my fault. Let's try that again. Oh yeah, cool. So let x, so you're doing for each string character, if the string is equal to, what was number in this case? Okay, the actual number we're searching for plus a string, and then another nested if to get the 2. Ah, I see what you've done. So oh dear. So without that, does it work for all the others?
Oh, no.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, without that one. What's the return false at the end doing? Yeah, so it works for everything apart from the 2. Alright? So that was your little exception
Oh, I just realised.
to account just for the case of when it equals 2. So the problem was because even if you did, so you've stringified it, and then you could do, I guess, stro string object. Okay, I get it. String object dot includes num. Will get you a true or false. No, it won't. What did I write wrong? Oh, the function hasn't been closed. Yeah, so that also works for all of them apart from 2. You see? So you could do the exception case again if you really wanted. But why is it not working? Because when you stringify, well, I'm going to show you now. So the whole thing becomes a string, but in the case of objects, you get these weird characters, right?
Yeah.
So why does it find 3? Well, there's clearly no 3 in there. Why does it find 5? Because there is a 5 on its own. Why does it not find 2? Because there's not a 2, right? Technically on its own. Oh no, hold on, that one returns true, doesn't it? Whereas you want it to return false. Yeah, because we're looking for 21. Well, sorry, no, we're looking for 2, but we've got 21. Because it's found the 2. And then the 7 here. Yeah? So, that's why it's not a great solution in that case, right? It would.
The thing is that if he would have a black spot there, he cannot use that trick about the 2.
No, if he didn't know what this number was going to be beforehand, he couldn't use the trick about the 2. Definitely not. So, instead, let's try and use recursion as we should.
I never used that before. In which cases you do the JSON thing?
Often when you're sending strings over a network, when you're sending objects over a network, so you turn it into a string because strings are easily passed, and then the other end you would convert the string back into an object. Just strings go over the network a lot easier than objects.
Yeah, no, my question was maybe strip or
Right,
big
simple.
linear.
Yeah.
What does JSON, when you type JSON, what happens on the
That.
Yeah.
So stringify is a method that belongs to the JSON object in JavaScript. So that's just like doing object.values, right? It's very similar to that sort of principle. Yeah. Except JSON in our case is the type of object in JavaScript that has the methods attached. Object has a values method. JSON has a stringify method attached to it. Right? And it just converts things into strings. specifically JSON objects into strings. But it looks a bit weird the way it does it. Yeah. Cool. So instead of stringify,
Fair enough.
what could we do? Well, we could definitely use reduce again in this case, I guess. So we've got an object. We want to get the values from that object. Yeah? How do I get the values from that object? I've just told you actually. Ooh. It is object.values. What will that create?
An array with your values.
Yep. And then I want to reduce on that. My accumulator is going to be either true or false. So which one shall I pick?
Can you use find?
Use find. Where? Inside of the reduce or here? Values.find.
No, instead of reduce.
Okay, what happens if I use value.find then? Then what? Find what?
Because what we have to do is answer true or false if the number we are asking.
Absolutely, yeah, it exists in the object. So what would be your solution?
Now we are having an array with
Yeah, we've got an array with the values of the object in, which in this case is going to be 1, another nested object, 5, down here, it will be that object, and then a 3. No, not even that, it will just be the one object, won't it?
Would you do like what you would call the variables, then arrow function, to what that variable is equals to null?
What are you trying? Val equals num. Like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember what the is. I can't. Can you answer the question? Is num an actual number? It is.
Yeah, num's a number. So what do you expect that to return?
Oh, that's going to return. Is that going to return the actual number you find?
Yep.
So the return value will equal number, right?
Yeah, true.
and maybe we can
If value equals number, then return true. If not, false.
or we can put maybe return
Am I doing that inside the find, Jack, or am I doing that outside the find?
we can put it's a question afterwards return val question mark val else no because we no
We did
return
that.
val question mark true else false.
Return val question mark what? Val true equals false. I didn't just like we're throwing random words out at me.
So you do it outside of the find.
Outside.
Yeah, that's what you want to type as well.
So you said if val equals type number or something. What did you say?
No, so it's, what I would have done is done if underneath once you worked out the find if it does find.
Oh, okay, right.
Return it as true. So it basically, if you return anything with your find method, then you return true, if not false.
Alright, so if found I'll just write it like the ternary, right?
You like
So-
to regex like all the numbers, because obviously it won't return if it gets a number error.
You want me to do a regex now?
I'm probably open to that. If it returns a number, then oh yeah.
Is it not just that? Is that what you're getting at, or not really?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to
That's
say, but
that's what Seb was trying to say. Okay. What will this return? I know true or false, but which ones will be green and which ones will be red? I think it will always be false, right? What's this one? Is this an empty object? Or what's that? Oh no. Might be true in that last case. Let's have a look. Oh, it's true in lots of cases. Oh no, because that's false, and that's true. Yeah, yeah. So it returned false, 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 true.
because
This is when we write Keyvon's exception and we're done, right?
Yeah, that's
If number equals 5, return true. Be a nice way to cheat on the platform, yeah.
Why is it always returned false, but except in the one measures?
Because you're checking whether the value equals the number. So what is the value or the values at each stage of the find in this?
isn't it
1, 2,
1,
4,
2?
No, it's not 1, 2, 4 and 5, is it? Because we have a nested object.
Oh,
Right, so the values are going to be 1, object containing C2, D4, and 5.
I mixed it as objects.
5, well, the value of A, I think, is going to be all of, it's going to be the whole thing, I think that's just got one value.
trying to figure out
So you're testing whether 5 equals that.
if we use somewhere map as well
If we map something,
to nest those idiot objects.
yeah, maybe.
Because at some point we're having the same problem I had on the other one, that I was still getting the nested
Mm-hmm.
thing instead of
So this is a recursion question, so essentially you want to have somewhere in there something like if val, or if type of val equals object, then do something again, right? In this case, we could just call the parent function again, call the exist object again. And what do we pass it? We pass it the value. Huh? Good point. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that, right? Otherwise, then I guess we can do what you originally intended to do. get away with wrapping it. I feel like I'm being incredibly lazy today. No.
Is it type of vowels?
Hmm?
Is it type of vowels?
Oh yeah, so we were doing it inside our find or our map or something, weren't we? So I was originally going to put a reduce. Would it work if we do it inside a find? Let's find out. So, if it's an object, call the whole function again. Otherwise,
So if it's an object, then it will call the function again and then perform that action within the nested object. Is that correct?
yeah, essentially you're running the whole function again. Else val equals number, closes the find, closes, wrong way around, right? Might work, it's worth a try. Nope, we've got even more red this time, so always false now. Oh, because I haven't got any return, right? Oh no, we had a ternary, so we need a return at the start of our ternary. Yeah. That's not a bad method then, using find.
Probably use map as well.
Could we use map as well? So what would you map it into? So you're saying rather than use find, use map. Map's gonna return don't know. Or just as it is, right?
Could try it. I think
So now you're always returning true.
Is it because always you're returning an array of map? And whether it's empty array or an array filled with value, then it will
Oh yeah, I meant try and return it directly. Nope. Yeah, because you got this, right? Then you'd need to look for true inside of that. So we do get a true when it is true. So if you did do it like that, how would you just find the true? I would flatten it. And then I would go for an includes true, right?
what does flat do?
What does flat do? Nothing at the moment. So map's getting back an array.
With underneath function, do you return objects instead of let vowels?
Say that again for us here.
Underneath function, yeah. So you return object instead of let vowels.
Return object dot vowels.
No, instead of let vowels, you return object. So get rid of let and equal.
That. Then what? So then we're just going to get the values always.
Get rid of the return vowels and leave map. So dot map.
Okay, so yeah, it's exactly what we had before then. If you do that, you just simplified it a little bit. So you've still got the same thing now. Maybe we can't use dot flat yet on the platform. I don't know, can we? Ooh. Object dot values dot map dot flat is not a function, so does it not like dot flat? Maybe that's the problem. Dot flat should flatten the array for you, simple as that, but maybe it's not supported on our platform yet. Yeah. Which is a bit frustrating. So yeah, I don't know how you do it with map, to be honest. Map gets you. Unless you just do an if type of, then just call it but don't return it. There's object. No, we don't need now. Now we just, no, that's mucked it up further, right? Let's go to the find method. I was happy with that one. Yeah, I think that's fairly concise. The other two Math 1 questions, I believe.
Just a quick one, Greg.
Yep.
Recursion, I assume that's when you're calling the function and then again to search the nested objects.
When a function calls itself.
Is that what recursion is?
Yeah.
I'm not touching it, so.
Get the biggest difference. Oh, this was a nice easy one. Get the biggest difference. So we had lots of strings, a variable number of arguments.
Oh, you saw it. Shit.
Sort it. I wouldn't sort it necessarily, but keep that train of thought going. So how would you sort it then?
So it's sorted by, it doesn't really matter what, yeah, it does. You sort it by the lowest number, like A, whatever, minus 53. And then you just take away the highest numbers, the index of the highest number by the index of the lowest number.
Okay, so yeah, your solution was to get all the numbers in an array first. How would you do that?
What is it at the moment? I didn't even look at the question. Oh, the numbers.
Well, they're stringified numbers.
You two-string it, then you split it into an array.
Can't I just use this?
You could just do that,
Yeah.
Totally, I'm not done
Thanks.
before.
Yeah. So now we've got an array of string numbers. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. What are we going to do with those string numbers? Oh, we need a function to begin with, right? Function.
Then you would return the string numbers. I'm going to do it straight away and return. So return the string numbers and then dot.
You wanted to sort it, right? Is that what you said?
Dot sort A, B, whatever.
A, B, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. You do B, whatever. Then obviously arrow function A. Must be.
That would be ascending, but it doesn't really matter in this case, right? We're just getting them sorted.
But it can be sorted because its number is string now. No? It's not number.
It-
Inside
you
the
can
array.
you can sort any elements based on this here. This is doing the sorting. You could sort an object based on whatever you put there. So that should coerce the strings to a number. If it doesn't, we're just going to put a plus in front of it, all right? And then it will definitely be a number.
What does the plus do?
Yeah, it's a unary operator. So instead, you could do that if it's clearer, right?
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think you have to make this a variable, sorry. Not return it straight away, because you can mix it.
Okay. I think we might be able to get away with that. So that's going to sort it, and then you wanted to do.
I wanted to have the last index value. So,
Yeah.
string num index, string num dot length taken away with 1 minus string num index 0. I don't know what it's in there.
I get the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where I'll let the rest know.
And we want to return that. Yeah. See what happens. No confetti. False, 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 false.
Because it's string, no?
Maybe. Let's see what we got there from the sort. Not returning anything. What's the error then? Reference error. Get biggest. Oh, I've spelt the bloody. Get biggest diff. All right. Can't test anything. Now what? Missing space. Unreachable code. That's because I've put 2 returns in there. Did it return an array? Yeah, it did. Right. Operate. You return 6. Yeah. So it's done it, and now we just needed the result as a string.
Oh, yeah. It's an array, and you just join it.
We've got a number, I think.
Of 0 as well. If it's not, then 0.
No, we just needed 2 string.
One question. So, what would happen if we leave the parentheses of sort? What would be the default when it will sort?
Yeah. So you're saying if we left it empty?
Yeah.
Well, usually it would be ascending, but it's now going to be trying to sort strings, so it might struggle. Whereas before, the minus sign has converted the strings into a number. Yeah, so it could handle that. Whereas this doesn't work because it's sorted them in the wrong order. Probably because it's put 11 before 2 and 3. Yeah?
Because it's sorting strings.
Because it's sorting strings, and if it sorts a string, 11 will come before 2 and 3 because 1 is technically in the alphabet before the number 2, right?
I did it in training like now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to show another way now, but do you want to say your way, Kate?
I just map array.
You mapped
Yes,
string numbers.
Yeah, to get numbers, and after I get minimum and maximum,
Okay.
return difference.
How did you get the minimum and maximum?
Mass, mean,
Yeah, math min. Yeah, nice.
and spread array num.
Yep.
Or it's string num.
So you did math dot min of
Oh yeah.
spreaded string num. And I assume you did math.max also of string num minus math.min of string num.
What's the map doing or something?
Converting the strings into numbers so that we can use math.max. Oh, but probably you had a minus sign in there somewhere, right? Did you use math.max? Maybe it gets away with it. Oh, we just haven't got a string at the end, right? So you would have needed a string at the end. No, I wouldn't. What's wrong now? Oh yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, so that still doesn't work. What's going on now? Reference string num is not defined. String num. God. So did it work without it? Yeah, I know. We were just testing whether it worked without it, right? Okay. So that's another one. Kelly said she didn't even use number. And you said it worked. It does.
Wow.
So you can use math with strings?
Only if they're numbers. So it's clever enough. It's clever enough under the hood to convert them to numbers, but
That makes JS is like is a bit more forgiving. Let me get away with that.
yeah. It's more dynamic and it performs implicit type conversion, right? You don't have to be explicit all the time. So is that still definitely returning a number? Yes, it is. So we still need the toString always. Now what? toSting.
Is that the easiest question on expert?
It's got to be, right? Yeah. That's a one-liner, isn't it? That really is a one-liner.
I hope that it was there's others like this out there.
Yeah, so if you'd skip that first question, you see, and maybe even the second one, there were 3 pretty easy ones after that. Because this one's also pretty easy, right? Initial bus passengers in and initial bus passengers out. I'm going to copy it this time so I don't get it wrong. So what is the pattern or the formula that's being applied there? What did you say, Esteban? Is it? One line? I don't know if I could do it in one line, but... Can we have a look at Esteban's solution then? But let's just explain the problem. So the number here, we've got two arguments. We've got an array of bus stops, essentially, and how many people got in the bus and how many people left the bus at each stop. And the number 12 in that bottom case is the number of people still left on the bus after the last stop.
Oh, shoot. I misread the question.
And we want to find out how many people were at the beginning. So we have to sort of subtract the ins and plus the outs, if that makes sense. It's almost the reverse of what you expect it will be. Yeah? What, one line, yeah? Esteban's got a one-liner. I want to see this.
Oh.
Let's... It was a really long line. Yeah, it breaks all the elegance. That's why you got such poor elegance. It's just this question was like 200 characters on one line or more. Where am I looking for your solution, Esteban? Let me think. Over here, right? Let's see, Esteban's one line. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, if you take out the initial function, right, then it's essentially. Could we look? We could make that one line if we used s rather than stops. And yeah, left. What's left? Oh well, let's just call that. No, that's on one line now. That's good enough. I should probably put it back though for people to make it more readable. So, yes, he has used reduce and initialized at 0. So, our count to begin with, you've used 0. Why have you used 0? Oh, because we've got left here. You could have probably initialized it to left though, right?
Yeah, maybe.
See if we can make it even shorter in a second. But you've done the number of people left minus accumulator starts at 0. You've then added for each value value.in minus value.out. Yeah, nice. What's the plus string at the end to convert it to a string? Yeah, is that what you've done? Yeah. So rather than using the toString method, Esteban has added an empty string to a value, and if you use the plus symbol with a string, it concatenates two strings. So it forces the other value into a string. So that's the same as doing the toString method, right? It's a shortcut instead of doing the toString method. So firstly, just to see what each bit is doing, let's just return that, right? Because that's the bulk. And that should get us a number. And if we clearly look at that number, we can see that it's the difference between left in the bus and the starting value of the bus, yeah? So the starting value is the 10, subtract 3, we get how many were left in the bus. The starting value was 1, we're left with 4 at the end, so 3 got in a net, in and out. And the same thing, right? The minus 6 is the difference between the ins and the outs.
So, just go back to the reduce.
Yep.
Just sort of make sure that we got it. So, you're accessing the stop value, which obviously holds the object will be. That's it. Val.in. How is that happening?
Because you have a one key.
Oops.
With the key of in and out.
Yep. So the value for each iteration of the reduce is an object, right? Firstly it's that, then it's that. And the other example is just one of them. In this example there's 4 values, each one an object. They always have an in and an out property.
Oh, shoot.
And then of course we wanted the starting values, so we had the end value left minus those that got in or out in total, and then convert it to a string at the end. Yeah, nice solution, very nice. Any questions on that one or anything else? No? So, unfortunately that was quite an easy expert, but the first two were a bit tricky, so if only they'd reordered the questions, hey, so that the easier ones were...
I always skip the ones that I know is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And come back
There's no harm in hitting skip 5 times and then picking the ones you want, right? You can do that. As far as I'm aware, no.
That's how I always do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I always do that. I think maybe that was it.
All right. Yeah. So that's it for this morning. Make sure that you're deploying your T-maps.